Oh my wonderful Taste Utah foodie friends, do we have a special treat for you this week on Taste Utah. We're on an otherworldly adventure through the mystical terrain of mushrooms. We're up in Ogden visiting Intermountain Gourmet and Adam Wong to discover the secret to farming these delicious little bombs of umami. Next, we head to Table X Bread in Millcreek, where we dig into the science of bread with Chef Nick Fuse. He's educating us about sourdough starters, the passion behind their pastries, and what makes their bread, and especially their baguettes, so unique. Taste Utah is more than your typical food show. It's about local flavor, from roots through authentically Utah restaurants. It's the people and the places that make Utah a dining destination. There's so much soil and earth to uncover and still so many great Utah restaurants to savor. We bring you the stories and we spread the love. The best thing about Utah, the views along the way, they're not bad either. We're not afraid to get our hands just a little dirty. Food is a necessity. It's how we create it and share it and experience it together that truly shapes our community. Whether you're choosing to dine in our dining rooms, order to go, or get delivery, you always have a seat at this table. Are you ready to taste Utah? We're in Ogden today, friends, and we're at Intermountain Gourmet. They are growing some of the premier mushrooms that restaurants and consumers are enjoying all over the state of Utah. We're gonna visit with owner Adam. He's gonna talk to us about all of the ways they're actually cultivating mushrooms to give us some fun guy all the time. Let's do it. Hi, Adam.
Hey, Katie.
It's good to see you.
You as well.
I'm so excited to be here. I mean, mushrooms are one of my most favorite things. They're delicious, they look cool. It looks like you have some amazing finished product here, but we probably need to start at the beginning.
Yeah, let's go take a look at the sawdust pile.
Well, that's where mushrooms start.
That's where it all starts, besides the culture.
Okay, well, we'll add some culture to the sawdust pile?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Thanks. So yeah, we grow all the wood-loving species of mushrooms.
Okay.
So we'll take the sawdust and mix it with other farm amendments, and add the nutrition.
So wood-loving mushroom, what does that mean?
So mushrooms are decomposers, so
Okay.
they're decomposing the lignin in the wood. You know, in the fallen tree or branch
Okay.
in the forest, when the mushroom kind of colonizes that dead stump or the fallen log.
What is a culture? Break it down for
So
people who may not know.
The culture is the mycelium, or that's the actual fungus. And so
Okay.
this is, I describe it to people like this is your apple tree, and the finished mushrooms are your apples.
Okay.
Or this is your tomato plant, and those are, you know, and the mushrooms are the actual fruiting body. We grow up to 12 currently different species of
Okay.
mushrooms throughout the year, and everyone likes things a little bit differently, whether it's the
Okay.
growing conditions or the nutrition that we're putting in them.
But it all starts with
But
sawdust.
it all starts with sawdust.
And-
Sawdust is the base of them all.
We'll have to check out the laboratory. That'll be where we head next. And then on to watch them grow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds
let's
great.
do it.
Let's take a look. So we grab in the sawdust and the amendments, we mixed them in the mixer,
Okay.
hydrated it to a certain hydration percentage, and then we loaded it in our steamer, steam sterilized that batch, and then we brought in the sterile substrate or sterile bag
Okay.
in the lab.
So basically the culture is in there now.
So now the culture, the organism, the fungi is is colonized the sterile grain.
Okay.
And then now we'll sprinkle the sterile grain into
Okay.
the sterile substrate bag.
Okay.
And then that gets sealed, and then we mix it.
So you just toss it in there.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Or I guess mix and load. Basically, we go to the sawdust pile and then we go to the mixing.
Then it goes and we just monitor the climate, the temperature, the CO2. When the bag is fully colonized, that's when it gets brought into here, which is our fruiting rooms, which stay at very high humidity, 90% plus humidity in here, and constant air exchange all the time. So we're basically simulating like a fresh rain.
Okay.
The mushrooms go from being cut open in this room to harvested in 5 to 10 days.
So break it down for us. How many mushroom varieties are you growing here?
Oyster, lion's mane, piapino, chestnut, maitake, beech, shimo fury, which is like a hybrid oyster. We grow reishi, king trumpet.
Will you just talk about the different mushroom varieties? So you said these are...
So there's wood-loving mushrooms, which is all what we grow.
Okay.
And then there's manure-based or compost-based mushrooms that are decomposing
waste.
like a waste matter or
Yeah.
compost, and which is like your white button, your agaricus, your portobellos. And then there's mycorrhizal mushrooms, which are your chanterelles, your porcinis. They have a symbiotic relationship with the living host or the living tree, and so they're kind of giving nutrients or trading nutrients back and forth between the living host.
I mean, compost in a farm is like the heart of any farm.
Yeah. So our spent compost after we or our spent substrate after we harvest the mushroom off the block.
Yes.
This will break down and it turns into an awesome compost or an awesome soil amendment.
Oh, wow.
And so we'll get it all to a local farmer who will compost it further and spread it on his fields or mulch it in his rows.
It really is like this act of like, how can this sustainable measure be used in another capacity? So it's like, we used it to grow our mushrooms, now you can use it to fertilize your soil.
Yeah, the mushrooms kind of complete the cycle at being decomposers. So they'll break down all that organic matter from the plants or from the wood or the trees, and then turn that into readily available nutrients to break back down into soil.
How long is your process from start to finish? So from basically sawdust pile to what we see in front of us?
Anywhere from the fastest being 3 to 4 weeks to 3 months as the longest.
How long have you been doing this?
We've been growing mushrooms for 6 years.
Why mushrooms? What was it about them where you were like, I want to kind of get into this?
The first time I ever saw them growing, I had some friends who had started an urban farm and started cultivating mushrooms, and that just kind of opened my eyes into the whole process, and I just dove right in.
Well, they're all really good for you. You have chaga over here that you're actually growing, right?
No, this is wild. So the candy cap and the chaga are wild that we'll bring in.
Okay. And what are candy caps?
So candy cap is a mushroom. This is found in Northern California, and it has maple syrup-like essence. So it's dried in the field, and then they I don't know if you can smell that, but they have a maple.
Smell like maple syrup.
Yeah, they have a maple syrup essence.
Little savory, little sweet.
And you can combine that or flavor butter or milk, and things like that, and then bake with it or cook with it.
And you're actually baking with mushrooms?
And then we're baking with mushrooms, so those are candy cap blondies. So we infuse the candy cap maple leaf flavor into the butter.
Can I try one?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they are so good.
Yeah.
And so then you also have reishi over there?
And then we have reishi tincture. So we cultivate reishi as well. And then we will do some wild harvesting reishi here locally, but we'll make our dual extract tincture that we'll sell locally at the farmers markets. It's known as the mushroom immortality. So it's really big at building your immune system.
Yeah.
Which, these days everyone could use.
I have to say, it really is so, amazing what you're doing, and just sort of unbelievable the level of knowledge that you have and care and insight that you've been able to offer us, and flavors. I mean, we're enjoying your mushrooms in so many Utah restaurants, but how else can people enjoy them? Where can they find you?
We're in all the Harmon's locations,
Okay.
so you can find us in the produce section next to the mushrooms.
Great.
And a lot of the restaurants downtown, Park City, and then we're in farmers markets up and down the valley.
So are you at like the major farmers markets?
Yeah, downtown, Ogden, Park City. We'll be getting into a few others next year as well.
Awesome, that's so exciting. Well, this has just been so educational, and like I said at the very beginning, like, I am a mushroom fanatic. You have made me even more inspired to be a bigger mushroom fanatic. And now when I want fresh chaga, when I want maple mushrooms, or when I want reishi, I know where to find you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Adam, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Katie.
We're in the Millcreek area of Salt Lake City. We featured Table X a couple of seasons ago, but we're back to feature Table X Bread. We talked to Chef Nick all those years ago about how he wanted to open a bakery, and guess what? He's done it. Let's go meet him. Nick, how you doing?
Hi, Katie. Nice to see you.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to be here. I can't believe it was like 5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, that we sat down and you were telling us about this amazing vision for Table X Bread, and
here we are.
Boom.
Yeah, it was just to be an empty, abandoned space. Now we converted it into our bakery.
I can't wait to just dive into all of this amazing food. Like, you just set it out for me. I'm so grateful. Should we sit down and chat?
Sounds great.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Nick, this is amazing.
Thank you.
Look at this just decadent bread.
Yeah.
How long has Table X Bread been going?
So Table X Bread started wholesale in January 2020, right after COVID, and we've been doing that for about 8 months, and then Table X Retail, the bread, just opened up about 3 months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's such a cool, vibey space.
Thanks.
Why bread? I know you're passionate about it.
Yeah, well, it's been a core product for us since day one.
Okay.
We serve bread upstairs in the restaurant. It's been something we've made in-house ever since. And then I've just expanded on different styles of bread and learning and just kind of expanding upon what we do.
Like, what makes bread so special to you?
Well, I mean, it's just 3 ingredients, really. Flour, salt, and water. And there's no natural yeast added to any of our breads, so we take care of our own starters and do our own fermentations. And it's just kind of fun, and it's a good way to like experiment with my own creativity.
And it's very Table X to be doing like your own starters, to be doing your own.
And we've always had our own starters since day one. So our oldest starter for our sourdough is from 2014. And then the newest one is from 2019.
Some people at home who might be watching may not even know what a starter is. Will you break that down for us?
Yeah, so it's basically a naturally occurring like yeast culture that you keep alive with flour and water. You let the fermentation happen naturally in the beginning over about 5 days or so, and then you feed it every day, and it consumes the starches in the flour, turns those into sugars, and then the sugars turn into alcohol. The whole process continues.
I love it. So a starter is a sort of like a living, breathing organism.
100%. 100%.
That then helps flavor your breads.
Yeah, and the older it is like typically the more sour your bread's going to be.
Oh, that's
so like our most sour bread is probably the rye and the sourdough.
Okay.
Because they use starters that are the oldest.
That is so cool.
And then the other breads are started from like 2019. So.
I feel like right now Table X Bread is everywhere. Like, you're in Caputo's, you're in Liberty Heights Fresh. I'll even go to like a local restaurant and it'll say we use Table X Bread.
Yeah, and that was like a big part of the whole concept for me, is that I thought there was a need in Salt Lake for better bread. So I've tried to push since day one of getting our product in other restaurants.
I love that. And the thing about the Salt Lake City restaurant community, I feel like the restaurant community in the state of Utah, they're so collaborative. Like, I don't really feel like they view each other as competition, more about celebrating what the other is doing and like how we can all improve.
I would absolutely agree.
Our market together.
Yeah, that's been a great part of like the growth of Table X, because in the beginning nobody knew who we were.
Yeah.
And we've developed our reputation, and so people trust the product that they're going to get from us. And then we've been working with all the way to Draper, to Park City, and to Daybreak. So there's a lot of different people using our bread.
Oh, it's so special. And it also, you know, I mentioned before we sat down, but it's like, it's so cool to have talked to you about this all those years ago, and then to just see it come to fruition in such an amazing way, because it's not just bread, you're also offering these delicious laminated pastries, which are a challenge in and of themselves. Like, that's an art and a science all on its own.
Yeah, and 100% self-taught. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, so I've been trying to make croissants since we opened the restaurant, and I would make them by hand.
Oh my gosh.
And then, so, you know, fast forward almost 5 years later, and I'm working with some better machinery, and it was always a part of the concept to have coffee and pastry and bread.
Yeah.
So we focus on croissants and laminated items. Like if we have the ham and cheese, it's cheese we buy locally and ham that we make in-house.
Okay.
So all the ingredients, there's never anything processed. It's all natural fermentation too, so no added yeast.
Well, I would love to just like pop back in the kitchen and kind of understand your process, see the artistry, and kind of talk about the craftsmanship behind making artisan bread. Is that
Sweet.
cool?
That sounds great.
Okay, let's do it.
Awesome.
Obviously, we have to start with flour, right?
Right.
Because that's the heart of any bakery.
Sure. Yeah, great flour produces great bread. So we use Central Milling flour.
Okay, up in Logan.
Yep, up in Logan. We use their rye flour, their bread flour, and then we use Lehigh Mills as well.
Okay.
For their whole wheat and their AP flour.
What is it about Central Milling's flour that makes it so unique? I mean, we featured them several seasons ago, and they're doing extraordinary things, and they're actually creating special flours for people.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I wish I had access to more of their flours. They do a really amazing job, and they make a great product. And we've been using their flour since day one, because it's the best flour you can get in Utah. But it's also one of the best flours you can get around the world.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's go shape some bread, should we?
Sweet, sounds good. I just got to get into the cooler over here.
Cool. All right, Nick, you're going to start shaping some of these loaves you just pulled from the fridge.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we do, once we're ready to shape the bread, it goes through a pre-shape.
Okay.
So this is where it's at now, with the pre-shape. It's been resting.
And what kind of bread is this?
This is the house sourdough. So
Okay.
this is Table X sourdough, our
Awesome.
main bread.
And what's that shape called? A bowl shape?
Bowl, yeah.
Bowl? Yeah,
Bowl.
okay, cool.
Well, it's actually the shape of this basket, basically, the bowl.
The bowl?
Round. So, and then it goes through a final shape. So the final
Okay.
shape, we'll take it off of the board, and then
Okay.
it goes down on your surface. So the idea is that you're building a surface tension here on the top, so you have a nice smooth surface.
I love it.
And you're bringing everything down to the bottom, so you're creating a seam on the bottom.
Okay.
So actually, with this bread, we leave the seam and we'll put it in the basket seam side down.
Oh, okay.
And then when we bake it in the morning, we'll flip it this way, and the bottom will be the top.
And that's what gives it sort of that.
The lines are
The
from
lines.
the basket.
Yeah.
We also, a lot of our breads we score with a razor blade to
Oh,
release
okay.
excess gas, so that we can control the way it bakes.
Right.
But this one we don't score because we leave the seam on the bottom, so it happens
Yeah.
naturally.
So you'll be baking these in the morning.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, cool. Well, I would love to see the finished product and just see sort of the finished product of all your breads. Is that,
Sweet.
is
Yeah,
that
awesome.
possible?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. Awesome. So this is basically all the bread that you've made
Today. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the finished product. You
Yeah,
have
so this is the bread we were just shaping. So
Okay.
this is our Table X house sourdough. So this was baked this morning.
got the lines that we just saw.
Yep, the lines we just saw
Okay.
from the basket. This is our SLC loaves,
Okay.
the baguettes. We have a rye bread up here,
Nice.
and I don't think there's any wheat still.
Wheat
Unless
sold out.
We must have sold all the wheat.
Yeah. I mean, good on you.
Yeah.
So you're going through a ton of bread every single day.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And there's sometimes things that you can't sell, or Table X tries to be as sustainable as possible. It's
Yeah.
really important to
We
you.
try to waste nothing.
Yeah.
So any bread that didn't get sold retail will go upstairs.
Okay.
We'll sell that at tonight's dinner service, and
Nice.
we'll also use that in the restaurant. But we always end up with some old bread. So we do donate some of it to a local nonprofit that helps us give it to needy families.
Awesome.
And then we also reuse it in a lot of different ways, from breadcrumb to kojis.
Koji's.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this.
So what this is basically this is day-old bread, and then we mix this with a koji spore. Koji is like something that you would see traditionally used to make like soy sauces and bring out umami flavors
Okay.
and things.
And what's a spore?
So a spore is like basically exactly what it is. Like a mushroom releases spores
Yeah.
when it tries to reproduce. It's the same idea, except these don't come from mushrooms. These are coming from grains.
Okay.
And then we use these to grow mold, essentially.
So spore creates the mold.
Correct.
Yes.
We use this to grow this mold on the bread. We give it a little bit of moisture, and then we mix it with the spore. It goes into our proofer for a couple days.
Okay.
The mold grows, and then we dehydrate it. And then we take this product and grind it into a flour.
Okay.
And then we add that to our baguettes. The reason we do that is because the addition of the koji helps create or keep the bread soft. A lot of times when you have a baguette or a day-old baguette, it's gonna be really, really crunchy. It's
Yeah.
gonna ruin the roof of your mouth. But with ours, we extend the shelf life. So on the second day you have a baguette, it's gonna be nice and soft and delicious.
That's amazing.
And also adds a little bit of flavor as well.
So you're using day-old bread to sustain basically the shelf life of fresh bread.
Correct. Yeah, essentially.
I mean, that's one of my favorite things about what you're doing, Nick. What you do at Table X, what you're doing here at Table X Bread, is that you really are creating a very sustainable ecosystem where it really is like waste nothing or waste as little as possible, and use byproducts to also make the experience that much better.
We actually do a lot of really cool things down here in the bakery that are quote unquote sort of experimental parts of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Like we make miso out of bread. You know, we make
so cool.
soy sauce out of bread. We do a lot of different cool things down here. So.
I mean, it's just so clear that you love what you do and you love to grow your knowledge and explore and experiment. And I feel like all master chefs at some point in their life suddenly really get into bread because of the art and the science and the nuance of what it takes to make bread. It's a simple ingredients, but the process.
Yeah, and there's no two doughs are the same. So every single time we have the recipes, but every single time the dough's a little different. So between the air temperature, the water temperature, and the different ingredients that are going in, and the different hands that are mixing it, it's definitely a process where you learn over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's trial and error. It's like anything. I mean, we are always talking to farmers about that.
Right.
How, you know, one year a crop grows really, really well, or one year a crop does not grow. And if you're attached to what you want something to look like, you're probably going to ruin it. You kind of have to be able to go with the flow and do what the bread is telling you. Like even when you were shaping that dough over there, you're like, oh, it's been sitting, so I have to adjust my pressure. And it's you having the knowledge base to then work with the living organism.
Yeah, it's constant.
It's a living, breathing thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true.
It's so cool. Well, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for your time and just everything that you're doing to contribute to our food community and our knowledge. And this has been such a fun experience. And I can't wait to come back and just sit outside and have coffee and croissant again.
Please do. Please do. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
It. Great to have you guys here.